Welcome to the world's easiest Figma slides crash course. In this video, we're going to talk about Figma slides. All of us love UI UX design, but at the end of the day, whatever interface or experience you're designing, whatever problem it is that you're solving requires at some stage for you to present it to the actual users, stakeholders, owners, or the non-design people involved in the creation of whatever software you're working on. And for that purpose, Figma came up with Figma Slides, which is Figma's built-in slideshow making program. And it's one of the best if you're a UI UX designer, significantly better than PowerPoint or Google Slides. The practical needs that come with presenting real-world things that you've made, especially for UI UX design related presentations, case studies, mockups and prototypes, are so much greater and need a lot more control than something like PowerPoint or Google Slides can provide. Figma Slides bridges that gap so seamlessly that in 2025, one of the most important skills you can learn as a UI UX designer is knowing how to do Figma Slides. Let's just get started. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to open up Figma. This is going to be so fun, you guys. Click on plus slides at the top, and this is going to open up a completely new Figma Slides file for us. Of course, there are a bunch of templates that you can choose from, but we'll come back to this later. Let's just explore the interface of what Figma Slides does first. All right, as soon as you get started, this is the interface, and let's just talk about what these things are, how they work. So at the very beginning, you see the left column where you have the option to rename your file. Let's just call this slideshow. This is where your file is located. For most of you, this is going to be in drafts unless you're on a Figma Pro plan where you can choose which project it goes to. This is the grid view with which you can decide if you have more than one slides, how that's going to work. And you can choose to add a slide to either the bottom or the left, which is like one of my most favorite things ever, because you can physically decide the direction in which you're going, and Figma Slides lets you do that so much more effortlessly than Google Slides or PowerPoint. So I think being able to open and add slides and elements in whichever direction you want is one of the best things that comes with Figma Slides. Like, that's my favorite thing of all. And again, you can go back to the slide view to talk about how to do your slides again. You can add a new slide from either your templates library. These are all of the templates. So you can have some templates which have a Venn diagram, some which have statistics, some which have images. And these are my favorite category of templates for all times, because as I said, UI UX designers have much different slideshow needs compared to the general population who is into making presentations. And Figma Slides lets you not only create presentations, but you get to create these presentations with natural mockups. And I would encourage you to try out all of these because it lets you feel the use cases that UI UX designers have to do repeatedly on slideshows that are specific to us. Sometimes you design an app and you need to show to the people who are also involved in the making of the app how it would look like on their real world phones. Because truth be told, sometimes I look at my own Figma files and it's just really difficult to understand how this would work, why this would work, what this looks like. You can't just show your Figma files to non-designers because sometimes it's genuinely difficult to understand how this would actually feel like on their devices. Mockups are definitely the stuff that you would find most useful in that case. And you can try a bunch of these from right here. So you can have all these pre-made mockups of devices, and then you can just choose the entire image that's present inside of here, and you can choose to replace this image that's inside with a real world UI design. And check it out, this fixes itself so effortlessly, and now we can visually see what this UI would look like inside of a laptop mockup. This entire slider UI had a lot more bells and whistles and super cool prototyping features. And if you're wondering how I made this, just check out this video right here at the top and you'll find the entire tutorial of how we made this super cool UI design slider inside the Figma. The next thing that I want to show you is you can also choose to add all the slides, and this will give you the entirety of the slide deck. And now that we're looking at all of the slides right here, and I would encourage you to try out all of these are testimonials, and you can kind of choose the image of a user over here if you wanted to. Let's say if this was the user, now you would have this image, this quote, and this is what a real world testimonial looks like for most modern web design use cases. So this is the slideshow software, super focused on UI UX design and modern web design specifically. Now that we're talking about these slides numbered right here, I also want to draw your attention to something super cool. Remember when we went to the grid view, and remember how we could add both vertical and horizontal slides? And these slides aren't exactly the same thing. Horizontally, each of these is a slide category, and a slide category can have a single slideshow group or multiple rows of slideshows. But at the end of the day, when you add slides vertically, these are all different categories of slideshows, and when you add horizontally, these are all of the slides in the single category that we're talking about. And I'll show you how this looks like in the slide view as well. So you can collapse each category as a slide view on its own. So 1, 4, 51, and 52 and 53 are kind of the 5 main categories we made. So when we zoom out, and by the way, you can use your cursor to zoom in and out of this as much as you want. This is the original Figma field when you can move around on your canvas and just see what's what, zooming in and zooming out without any visual constraints that other softwares have. This is a slide category. The entirety of this, you can see where it starts and it ends. This is a slide category. You can see the entirety of where it starts and where it ends with the blue pointers. This is a slide category. This is a slide category. This is a slide category. You can also add a slide category vertically from right here. And now when we go back to our grid view, all of these slide categories can collapse within themselves, and that's exactly what we're doing right here. So this is a slide category, this is a slide category, and 51, 52, 53, 54 were also slide categories that were taken vertically right here. So I think that's the two ways of doing slides in Figma Slides. You can have a slide category that kind of goes in its own category, and you can have multiple slides inside of the same category. And this is kind of useful when you're doing multiple categories, one for light mode, one for dark mode, one for apps. This slide categorization feature just helps so much. It just takes off so much headache of creating 2 to 3 different slideshows for one single use case. So that's the way to think about slide categories right here. The next point that I want to talk about is obviously on the right sidebar, where we have not only the ability to design stuff, we can also animate stuff. So let's just take one of these examples and see what we can do when we start animating stuff. So the first part of the animate tab is slide transitions. Right now we don't have any transitions, but we can choose what transitions we want to have. Let's choose push because it's the most simplest one ever. Let's do a top push and make the curve quick. I think one of the nicest things with these curves is you can have linear ease in and ease out, but you can also do these settings that Figma auto provides you. I'm just going to do quick right now, and you can have a timing off when you click on it. You can also have a timing off after delay of a certain point, but this is more practical when you're presenting for a talk and you have a timer and stuff like that. But right now I just want to have it on click, and you can also choose to apply the same transition to all slides. And now when we open this slide up, when we present it, let's just present it without notes first. We'll talk about notes later. Every time I click on a slide, it comes from the top, it comes quickly, and it comes exactly as smoothly as we talked about. Check it out. This actually looks quite nice because everything is getting pushed from the top, and you can experiment around with a bunch of these and see what works and see what doesn't work, just so you can have something to your satisfaction. Let's apply this new function to all slides, see what happens. Check it out, you guys. This was super cool. Everything in Smart Animate takes the elements that are present in the screen and tries to animate them as smoothly as possible to the next by preserving what they were. And this is so fun to work with. Like, Smart Animate is by far one of the coolest things we've ever seen. You can also do your casual slide in, slide out, move in, move out, and we've seen these in most presentation software. Bouncy has a lot of shock to it. I think sliding in and out gentle is the best setting for the most part when you're designing anything that needs mass presentation. My favorite slideshow style is move out with a curve of gentle applied to all. It's very casual. It's very simple. People expect it. It doesn't shock people. It lets you play around with what's present inside of your screen as opposed to fancy animations and random stuff from a bunch of places. And GIFs, by the way, also keep playing when you're presenting slides. So this was not just an image, it was also a GIF, and GIFs play very well while you're presenting stuff. You don't need to add something, start something just to be able to make your GIFs play if you want to have a certain level of animation embedded inside of your images when you're actually creating a slideshow. Let's talk about object animations a little bit, because let's just say this is an object and I want to animate it. You can have the object animation of slide right with this duration, and you can choose to slide left, slide down, slide up, or even fade. Let's do fade. Fade is fun, and animate it in, and let's have the timing be on click. And now let's test this out in real time. This is what happens when we click on it. So it's kind of just fades in very quickly. I think I want to increase the time just so we get to see how things work. So this is just super slow. I wanted to do 1000 milliseconds, and let's do slide left of 1000 milliseconds. See, this happens so perfectly. I'm just really proud of it now. Let's do the exact same thing for all of these. Slide left, and you can, by the way, choose 200, 400 or 600 milliseconds as presets for quick, easy and gentle, but I want to keep 1000, so I'm just going to keep it at that, and we'll animate in obviously, and then we'll just do this once again. And now let's just see what happens when we start presenting. So now you might have seen the second thing kind of animated first, which we don't want. And that happened because every time we choose to animate a certain element, that's the exact order in which Figma registers it. So we animated second thing first, so that's happening first. But you can reorder these now. So you can just select this from right here and reorder this below animation number 1. And you can also now see what happens when you start animating it on its own. And again, these 1, 2, and 3 are of different clicks. This number usually shows the number of clicks it takes to make a certain thing happen. So if this number said 2, then I'd have to do 2 clicks for this animation to take place. And I don't want that, so I'm just going to select all of these and bring them to 1. But you can test this out on your own. Now when I click on one click, this happens, and it kind of keeps happening as I keep on clicking. Again, you can choose to zoom in, zoom out, or zoom to fit according to what you're working with, according to what feels comfortable to you, especially when you're in the middle of designing something small, changing some text, doing some data. Zoom to fit is usually my favorite because you can make things fit immediately. In the design section, you get to see a bunch of really cool elements. My favorite part of Figma slides is the ability to adjust tone. So you can change the tone of what you're designing right here to be more professional, more concise, more expanded, or more casual. This is powered by Figma AI, by the way. If you want to adjust tone, if you want the tone to be professional and expanded, you can just take this to this corner and then let it generate all of the text it wants to. And now check it out. They've made our 1, 2, and 3, the 3-thinged list into this really nice, comprehensive, professional, expanded kind of thing, which is extremely helpful if English isn't your first language and you just want things to fit a certain theme or aesthetic or vibe. And you can also choose presets or voices in case you don't want to start assuming right here, or you just want to quickly have something that fits the educational theme very quickly, fits the technical theme very quickly, fits whatever it is that you want it to fit as a vibe. And you can also adjust tones by typing out what you would want directly into Figma. So you can ask it to be keeping a more patient tone or have a more casual tone, or you can have Figma AI make the tone more descriptive, and that's exactly what it's going to do. So you just have to let it rewrite your text into something with a more descriptive tone. Again, sometimes the styling looks a little bit weird and you have to kind of adjust the borders or adjust the font sizes, both of which are fine, honestly. But I love the fact that you can actually change so much and fit the vibes and the themes that you need to. The entire point of Figma slides is to be able to fit presentations into the world of UI design, and this is one of the coolest features and one of the easiest tools for us as a UI designer to be able to do that very effectively. Let's now talk about template styles. Currently, if you go to this corner, you'll see we are on the light slides template by Figma, and inside of this template, the main font is Inter for all of these. These are our main colors. And if you wanted to change a style for the template, so for example, this is a title style. If I wanted it to be in the font Inknut Antiqua instead of Inter, I could do that. And now every single place where we've got our title preset present, this font would be the new font that's working over there. And you can change these presets wherever you would want to. Just going right here, you can make this extra bold, you can make the font size even larger, you can do whatever you'd want to do. And every single place you've used this preset, everything will be done in that exact same style. So you can adjust the line height, you can adjust the spacing between each character, font sizes, font weights, font styles, and just everything that you'd want from fonts. You can also add underlines, strike throughs, any other text decoration. Thickness of the underline can be changed. You can have the offset change a little bit. You can have this skip ink, which means when you're doing something like a G or a Y, every single place where some ink is present, it's just going to skip the underline, versus when you don't skip ink, it kind of underlines over it. You can change the text cases, you can change the vertical trim, meaning it can just trim out your text box exactly where your fonts end, or provide the appropriate amount of padding that your line height gives you. My challenge to you is to go try list and paragraph spacings on your own, see what happens when you start exploring these features on your own. I think one of the coolest parts of starting with a new software is getting to explore all of the different features and elements. Again, list and paragraph spacings work really well in providing spacing when a list or paragraph is present. You can also choose the colors that a slide is having right now. After doing that, if you still want to change some styling for this text style specifically, for example, adding the bold or adding an underline or making a list out of it, you can do that from these buttons right here. You can also change the alignment vertically or horizontally, especially if the title box was bigger. You can also align things vertically or horizontally depending on where you're at. You can change the background of the slides from a color. These are the preset colors, which by the way you can change if you'd want to. So this is going to become our preset persimmon or pink. If you just change the color to be that, you can also choose a custom color from right here. Again, I love color presets, which initially came from the world of Canva, and Figma and everybody else has also taken them so easily. And I just love the fact that you can just go over here and choose any color you would want to very easily without having to wonder a whole lot on which color do I use, how do I get started. You can have a gradient be the color that fills this, so you can change the colors that make up the gradient. You can add an image in the background if you would want to. You can choose a different image if you would want, or make an image using Figma AI. Let's just make a landscape image for the background of this UI. And now if you'd want, you can put this image in the background, right click, send to back, and check this out. This is our background image now. If you want to change specific parts of text, you can do that. And you can also change the color of the text from a plain color to a gradient fill. You can rotate the gradient or choose an image fill if you'd want there to be one. But I'm just going to choose a simple plain white color, and you can choose these templates colors or make a custom color from right here. But I just want a plain white, so I'm just going to choose the template color from right here. You can link this to a separate slide or a separate URL. So you can add https://google.com if you want to link this to google.com, so whenever you click on it, it kind of goes to google.com when you're actually presenting this slide. Now that we're presenting this slide, every time you click on this link, you basically go to google.com. Or you can link this to slide number 12, which is behind, and you can just put in the number or choose a number from right here. So I'm just going to type out number 12, and this is going to link us to slide number 12. Now every single time I click on this link, I go to slide number 12. And those are some of the basic ways you can use the left sidebar. Now let's talk about stuff at the bottom. This is our bottom toolbar. It's my favorite place ever because you can have so much fun with it if you just know what we're doing. This is our main cursor. You can obviously use this to move stuff around. You can also use the hand tool to move around areas of screen. So for example, if I'm zoomed in and if I'm working on something in this corner, if I'm changing something right here and I want to go back to the left side, I can just quickly do that by using the hand pan tool. You can zoom out and choose the scale tool. This is going to let you effortlessly scale things, make them big or small without having to worry about sizes. You can also sort of reverse their direction using the scale tool. Like, this is super duper fun when you're changing the styles, adjusting the way things are without moving things around or messing their flow up way too much. So you can just choose sizes and scales, and this is something that Canva lets you do, but also Figma is letting you do now with the scale tool, and I'm such a huge fan of that. You can add more text. Let's do more text. You can change its styles exactly as we did. You can add an image from your device. Let's choose an image. Let's add this right here, and this is going to take up the entirety of the space because this image is honestly too big. I'm just going to get the scale tool now and make this image smaller, because otherwise your proportions will be distorted. Or if you want to scale an image using your move tool, then you need to press shift and then scale down just to make sure your aspect ratio is maintained. So when you're pressing down on shift, your aspect ratio is maintained, or when you're pressing the scale tool, your aspect ratio is maintained. When you're not pressing down on shift and using the plain move tool, then we get into the problem of when you just do this, it kind of messes up with cutting things out or messing up aspect ratios, both of which we don't really want. Again, you can place this image right here if you'd want to. Choose a shape. Simple, circle, square, triangle, rectangle, star. Change the color of the shape's outlines and change the colors of the shape itself on the inside. So I think we can change this to be a light blue. Check it out. This looks like a really nice shape. You can add some text here if you'd want to, and this is going to be in the color of the shape's stroke itself. So this provides it a really nice border. So when I have a shape whose border is black, then whatever text I enter in here will also be black. When I have a shape whose border is yellow, then the text will also automatically be changed to a yellow color. So this is kind of worth noticing. Next, we have live interaction, which is one of the coolest parts in the whole world of Figma slides. You can have a poll inside of your slideshow. You can give your audience something to interact with when you're presenting, like a quick poll or an interactive prototype. So you can add a poll asking which is the best prototype version, or which problem is the most significant when you're working with our app, and you can have A, B, C, whatever options you would want there to be. So you can press shift to scale this down effectively, and whatever the viewers kind of vote on, you can see the results right here by clicking on the results revealed or results shown version, and the number of votes are going to be visible right here. You can also have more live interactions. So for example, stamps, and these are going to be the stamps that people are going to add if they agree to what you're doing, and I think you'll be able to understand this when we're presenting this. So let's just try to present this slide, see what happens. Every single time I agree to something that's going on over here, I'm just going to stamp this now. I've stamped, and somebody else will also stamp, and that'll kind of be visible over here. Whichever prototype version I find the best, I'll kind of click on it and I'll see who voted, and I'll be able to see the results. So I can kind of either see my own results or see the percentage of everyone's results, and those are the two options I can work with. There are more live interaction features. alignment is my favorite one because you can get the users to choose with something. So for example, if this is a controversial choice, I know we're kind of cramming a lot of stuff in here and that's just costing me now. Let's say this is a controversial choice label, and you can ask your users to choose whether they agree with something strongly or disagree with something strongly or are neutral on a certain decision. Like, this is a very, very practical way to do those things. So I clicked right here and that made my agreement from neutral to strongly agree, and I can still change it. So for example, if I strongly disagree with something, we're just going to drag this right here, and then the results are going to be visible. You can hide the results too if you'd want. So this lets the users vote anonymously. Users vote in their own privacy, but also you can see what the users think on this controversial choice label. The last live interaction feature is the live prototype feature, which you can add right here. So let's just go to an open slide because that was just getting way too crammed. You can basically get any live prototype from inside of Figma, add it to any slideshow that you would want, and this is my favorite feature ever. Speaking of slideshows, this is one of my favorite prototypes ever, you guys, and if you want to see the entire tutorial, you can. Actually, I'm just going to superimpose this on top of everything just to show you what I'm talking about. This is the prototype feature inside of Figma, and again, this is the entire UI design animation slider that we made inside of Figma. This is such a cool effect. If you're wondering how the fancy animated side of things goes, how to make fancy animated incredible looking UI design effect, check out the complete tutorial right here in this corner. I know I'm self-promoting a lot, but honestly, this is such an incredible slider to make. Like, it's one of the best animated UI design slider tutorials you'll ever find on the internet. You can also choose to add comments, so I can say this is nice, and that'll be my comment that stays here. I can add an emoji, I can tag a certain user if I'd want to, or I can add an image just to provide my feedback on this. Again, I've added my own GIF, which is kind of proving to you not only do PNG and JPGs work, GIFs also work. Right now, there are no users with @user hashtag, and Figma is letting me know that, but I can add users if I want to tag them. And you can add 5 different images providing feedbacks right here. You can add both images and GIFs if you would want to. Again, this is all really, really nice, incredible built-in feedback. Right now, there is no user with @user present, so I'm just going to get rid of that. But other than that, this was such a nice way of adding or leaving feedbacks. When you have a prototype going on inside of Figma slides, you can choose which flow you're working with. So right now we only have one flow, but sometimes in UI design prototypes you have more than one flow, more than one cycle, and you'll know this if you have ever worked with advanced flows in UI design. You can choose which flow you're working with too. You can add a device frame or remove it. If you just want this to be built in, you can get rid of the device frame too, and you can go back to the original prototype from right here. This is the actions toolbar, and before I go talking about this, I want to talk about presenter notes. All slideshow softwares have presenter notes. We've all seen them absolutely everywhere. You can have these, write some notes, and when you're presenting, you can choose to present with notes. This is going to be your slideshow, and when you're presenting something, your notes will also be visible to you. You can edit these notes right here, make the notes only take up the entirety of our space, or have them split our screens. You can also open an audience view to see what the audience will see, and this is going to be only the entirety of this slideshow and not presentation notes. And you can click on this button to make the entirety of this available offline. You can download the slides and present them when you're offline too. So as long as this tab is open, you will have an offline availability of the entirety of this slideshow. Again, now that we've talked about notes, let's talk about actions. You can add as many assets you'd want, search for images or something from previous libraries. You can search for assets, either AI generated assets or previous assets that you've saved, any images or something. You can add plugins, which we've seen honestly in Figma so many times. This is Iconify. This is my favorite icons plugin in Figma, so you can just add any icon you would want wherever you would want it to. Let's say I was working on a presentation that required me to add a bunch of icons. I can just effectively do that with all of the different plugins that I'm familiar with from the land of Figma by going to the actions window. Again, you can draft presenter notes using AI with the actions window. So this is exactly why I wanted to talk about what notes are first. You can just use AI to generate a much better rescripted, better description of exactly what we were talking about. So they've kind of made our 2 points to a really, really nice list of notes, if you will. And again, in the assets section, you can add diagrams, which are by Figma, hero icons of Tailwind CSS as your icons. You can add slide numbers if you'd want to. You can add tables if you want to. You can add code blocks if you're a programmer. All of these are super effective things you can do. So let's just say I added a code block in here, right click, bring to front. You know what, let's just delete this for now. If I wanted to add a code block, I could, and then I could add some code in here too. So sometimes design and development go hand in hand, and you want to add some piece of code. Let's say document.get element by ID. You can do that, and then you can add the ID of whatever you're working with, this is a code block, and you can just add that right here with such insane simplicity. You can also choose the programming language of code if you're working with that. So this is JavaScript, and it kind of highlights it in that exact same color scheme, and you can choose the color scheme of the code itself. Like, this is so fun to work with. If you're a programmer, you can align the code block in the center of the screen horizontally and vertically, and you can add slide numbers too. So this is going to add our slide number automatically when we click on it. You can add a table as well. This is so fun to work with. You can add tables in any direction, adding rows and columns wherever you would feel like it, and that's kind of the way we integrate things. And you can play around with all of the features that we've seen right here. So this is just adding a gradient fill, adding a color fill, changing the colors that we're working with. The final feature that I want to talk about is the slides versus the design mode. Figma obviously has the design mode, Figma Buzz, Figma Draw mode, Figma Slides mode, Fig Jam mode. All of these are different kind of modes and categories Figma works with. When you have a slideshow going on, instead of just having slides go on right here, you can also take this into Figma design mode and work on these as if they were Figma design files. And this UI is what you would see in Figma design mode. So if you haven't seen or worked with Figma design mode yet, right here is the world's easiest Figma design mode crash course. I would encourage you to go check it out. And if you've been a long time UI UX designer and you've already worked with Figma design mode, this lets you take a familiar UI of Figma design mode, create a slideshow inside of Figma slides, go back to Figma slides and be able to present it like it was a normal slideshow. Like, that's the power of Figma slides integrated inside of Figma. Finally, you can share this with absolutely anyone. Anyone can view this. You can share this. You can copy this link, and anyone with this link access can view. You can add emails and add these people, and everyone whose email is added can be either the owner or the viewer or whatever you would want this to be. So you can give permissions as well. You can publish this template to Figma community, copy the link of the presentation, get an embed code to put it inside of your website's code, and share it with your teams by moving it to a certain project. And ladies and gentlemen, that has been the world's easiest Figma slides crash course. I hope you liked it. I hope you have a lot of fun creating real world slides as a UI UX designer, presenting the incredible stuff that you make, and being able to enjoy the full power of having your UI design software, design, presentation ready for the market, ready for meetings. And I'll see you in the next one. Until then, keep on designing. All right, love you. Bye.